The MoneroTopia Price Report segment is sponsored by Exolix, a privacy-focused, non-custodial instant crypto exchange. Go to exolix.com to enjoy secure and completely anonymous swaps with no KYC or sign-up. Swap between Monero and 2,000 plus assets at the most competitive rates and with no limits. Exolix.com, your fast and secure way to privacy.
We need like another show segment, the pre-price report with bodies.
The PPP or the PPR.
Yeah. All right, man, take it away.
Yeah, so we had some good price action this week. A little bit of pump up here to the 350 area. That was nice. That wasn't too surprising. We said, hey, there's some consolidation happening. The market is generally bullish, so it felt like things were maybe getting ready to break out. Let's see. Do you want to expand the charts all the way, Doug, or shortwave? Do you want to put the?
I don't have control. Only Doug does.
It's up. It's up now. It's up.
No, but do you want to there you go, full screen it? Thanks.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm on a slight delay here. Okay, so yeah, we had some decent price action. Like I said, it wasn't too surprising for us. We when we get positive action, we get these big spikes, and we get negative action, we get big spikes down as well. I was looking at a few more pleb lines here that we could hypothetically try and draw on the Monero chart. Let's see. So I added this guy right here. I don't know how useful that line is. It seems like on the daily chart it's reasonably useful, but you can see, we get these little spikes down below it. But it's you can actually kind of see there's a little bit of we're curling up, if you will, right? The price action here is, I don't know if I'd call it parabolic just yet, but we sort of have had our most recent higher low be even higher than the last higher lows. And I know that sounds retarded, and I am. So what we're talking about here is this guy, right? This line that connected these dots, but you'll notice this low that happened right there was not on this line down here. So this is the kind of things, the kind of schizophrenia that happens when you focus on pleb line analysis. But here we are. So yeah, this higher low actually is a little bit higher than these other lows down here. So that kind of has the feel ever so slightly of going parabolic. It would just be the very beginning of the idea, the thought of maybe going parabolic. So we hit 416, as you guys all know, earlier this year when we had the breakout from the hacks or whatever. Like we said, this was going to happen, the hack, whatever. Something was going to happen, right? That was going to push price up. At this point, everything is so controlled. I don't even know if I believe that was this guy that had this funds, was he paid hey, move your funds, let's do a quote unquote hack, right? So we can make Monero seem dirty. The price only pumps because dirty hackers use it, right? I'm not saying that's what happened, guys. I don't even think that's a 50% probability. It's probably not even a 30% probability, but these are the kinds of things that go through my mind in a lot of cases. It's oh, how convenient is it that it was a hack that pumped Monero? Not that some corporate dude or some big name got into Monero. Not that we saw all these people for the past year or so, these big name people getting into Monero, or we'll call them medium name people, right? It was the hack that caused the
Taylor Swift put her money in Monero.
Yeah. Or were they just waiting for something, right? We're was this a big holdout time where for almost a year where the cabal is try and stop the price, wait for something. Wait, there was a hack. Blame it on Monero. Okay, now we can let the price bump, right? Was it something like that? You have to understand, these corporate suits, these scumbag motherfuckers, there's nothing they won't do, right? I've watched them do everything over the years. So my first thought always goes to the kind of frauds they're going to be committing. And I know that that's it's not exactly fair, but don't worry, bros. I would never do that to people as an individual. I do that to people associated with corporations and the government, right? Because that's just it's warfare, right? It's economic warfare by other means. That's what the corporate environment is. Democracy is warfare, is a proxy for warfare, that kind of stuff. So anyways, right. All right, let's dial it back. We don't have to be so warfare oriented, right? Right now, we got some sunny blue skies in front of us, right? We got the big price pump happen at 350, whatever, and there's a chance, hey, maybe we could go up to 500 here post haste, right? Maybe over the coming 3 months, as crypto enters this kind of swing phase. October is usually a pretty good month. September's a shit month typically for Bitcoin and for crypto. Historically speaking, especially in the bull market, September has been traditionally kind of a pause month, but maybe October, November, we could see some big gains up here to that 500 area. Right. So the macro is still stable. Things are still looking fine and rosy. So honestly, yeah, things are good. Things are okay. Monero does have positive price pressure. Positive price pressure. Okay, so right now, you would almost be able to call this an inverse head and shoulders if we wanted to be, we wanted to be degens or whatever, right? We could call it, especially if the next movement here is up. That's extremely positive on the XMR BTC ratio, right? So that's what I would be looking for here, guys. If we want to believe that we're about to make a new breakout relative to Bitcoin, what we want to see is in the next few weeks, we want to see Monero setting a higher high, challenging the upper standard deviation levels here, these orange bands, right? It's a very common pattern, right? You have breakdown, you vacillate, the volatility drops off, right? That's what you're seeing here. And this is a long-term chart. We're looking at the daily candles, and we're looking at a time span of about 3-4 years here. So what we want to see is, again, challenging, flirting, hanging out, and the upper part of this orange area. So let's I don't know, let's delete some of these lines. Let's just Control Z this chart. So we want to see the price action get up here, do something like this, make some peaks above, right? And then do that. Now that's not the right timeline, but something to that nature is what we want to see if we want to believe that XMR is going to start rising against Bitcoin. It would be a thing of beauty, honestly, if we saw Monero in a bull market outperforming Bitcoin. And then if we were to enter some kind of like years long flat protracted bear market, or maybe not quite a bear market, just stagnation market, right? So one thing that might actually happen, we could see not so much of a bear market, we could see a stagnation market develop, and it would be along the nature of diminishing returns, right? So like I said before, this bull market we're in is going to be muted. It's not going to be like previous bull markets. It'll be nice. You'll still get your gains, but it's not going to be like the kinds of degenerate fucking 100x shit that we've seen before. But it's still going to be a bull market. So and so by the converse, the bear market's not going to be quite so poignantly, painful for people, just because, we're at $4 trillion here. Total market cap is at $4 trillion. Let's actually go to the total market cap. So this is total 3, but let's just look at total. Yeah, so you can see, basically $4 trillion market cap. $4 trillion battleships don't steer quickly. It takes them time to change course. So that's what's happening here with crypto. But this chart is still bullish, right? So we are still looking at a bullish scenario. Obviously, you can see all of this. We've talked about this for the past weeks, right? You're up here, you're inside the purple bands. Everything is curling up. You're consistently higher lows. You're punching higher. This is perfect. This is exactly the setup that you want to see if you want to see your crypto gains, bros. You want to see exactly this kind of action. This is what the stock market looks like, actually. You set up, you get this nice, gentle, continuous movements towards the top side. Hypothetically, this bull market could extend beyond the traditional winter time point, right? November, December, January, right? That's where we've seen previous topping action happen in previous bull markets. Hypothetically, again, Fed dependent, monetary system dependent, money printer go burr dependency. You could see an extended bull market, guys. Like, you really could see that. So that would actually maybe not be the worst thing. I would rather just have like consistent, steady gains. I'd rather, honestly, I'd rather see crypto calm down. I want to see Monero take its place where it belongs. One thing that we forgot to mention here, Kraken. Kraken reopened their withdrawals. So I guess that was good, right? They were down for like a week, and then it's kind of weird. I have to say, there's this weird coincidence that like within a day or two of Kraken opening their withdrawals again, we started a big upward price movement. So that is another big what the fuck. Again, can I accuse Kraken, say that they were fractionally reserved? I can't accuse them of that. All I can do is say, guys, the behaviors that y'all have displayed recently are not ones that inspire confidence in your reserves, right? And we actually did forget to look at the divergences. Okay, so here's this week. You can see, and this is a percentage on the right side. You can see that the scumbag exchanges relative to Kraken all diverged down -8%, -7%, right around the same time that Kraken was opening withdrawals again. So my guess is that Kraken, I don't know what was happening there, guys. Like, maybe they were really genuinely trying to protect their customers. Maybe it was just an excuse because maybe they were uncertain in a corporate sense because maybe they just don't pay that much attention to Monero. Maybe they were like, well, shit, there's like a reorgs happening. I don't know. Shut it down. Right. We'll figure it out in a second. You two people finish your project for the next 2 weeks and then go work on Monero. Right. Maybe something like that happened. That's a very plausible explanation. So I don't want to say that they were necessarily, but notice again, eyebrow raising kind of stuff. When Kraken started to open their withdrawals again, all of the scumbag exchanges, and I'm perfectly comfortable with calling these fraudulent scumbag exchanges, they all diverged minus 8% relative to Kraken's prices, and then we had price pumps happening. So yeah, that's all so dirty. It's all so slimy. Like the proof is right here, guys. Like, or the evidence, I should at least say, is right here. Like, this kind of thing shouldn't happen in an honest exchange. These kinds of things don't happen. So none of these guys have the XMR they say that they do. We've talked about that ad nauseum. Let's look at some altcoins. Let's take a look at the Z-scores on the altcoins. FTT somehow bringing up, pumping bigly. So if any of you FTT holders are out there, we knew this was going to happen. This was eventually going to happen. FTT was eventually going to pump. They're probably never going to relaunch the Sam Bankman fraud exchange or whatever. They're probably never going to relaunch that, but somehow FTT is still a thing. AVAX also pumping lately. AVAX being an overperformer, and obviously XMR here, as we know, pumped here this past week. So starting to almost get into the pack range here. We're still at the bottom of the pack range. Again, it's a bull market. Don't be surprised at that. They don't want you buying Monero. They want you buying the shitcoins they printed from nothing. Take a look here at the Bitcoin dominance is dropping, and as we've said, this makes sense, right? This is what you expect in a bull market. It's actually a sign that we are in a bull market. We're getting our alt season again. This is going to be a sort of meandering alt season, a light, dainty alt season. It will go towards the downside, and you're going to get your altcoin gains, but don't expect them to come fast and hard like they used to. Some of them will, right? Some of them are going to pump. You're going to get your 10x here and there. It's going to be really hard to find your 100xers, and your 1000xers are going to be extremely difficult to find. Like, those are just like getting 1000x is, I mean, it's insane to get 1000x anyways. And here's another thing. I know that there's some of you probably out there that play with the meme coins, right? You get on Solana and you're like, I just got a 10x. Like, yeah, okay, you did get a 10x, bro, but on a no liquidity coin, how are you going to get out without crushing the price, right? Or you got a 100x, right? How are you going to get out without crushing the price? You're not, right? So you have to understand that, like, when you're playing, the moment that your stack that you're playing with starts to become a significant portion of the liquidity of that market, you have less money than you think you do. So, but the other thing too, it's like, listen, if you're at the level that you're playing with a small enough amount that you can get in and out of these shit coins. So, all right, here, this is like, I don't know, brotherly advice time. If your financial situation is at the level where one of two things are: either have the time to invest a significant portion of money in a whole bunch of shit coins, a small amount, and a whole bunch of these shit meme coins to try and catch those 5 and 10x and 100xers, and get in and out on that meme coin space, or you're not playing with a very big amount of money and you're hoping to catch some meme coin to 100x or whatever, and then, and get out. Your time is better spent doing something else, gaining real skills, doing something that will earn you money in the real world, as opposed to trying to degenerately gamble on meme coins. Like, it's really just that simple. Like, if you have big money, then you don't invest in meme coins because you know that you can't get in and out of those things without like crushing the price against you and having to play weird games. Or maybe you're smart enough that you do bot analysis and you have a bot trade all that shit. Okay, then you're at another level. Sure enough, fine. Except for that narrow side case. If you have a lot of money, you're invested in stuff that has the liquidity to support your ability to get in and out, right? If you're trading endeavors. If you don't have a big stack, then you should be doing other things to gain a legal tender, in the words of John Travolta. You have no legal tender, Jules. Okay, so anyways, going back to crypto. So that was just like a side trail there. Like, it's one thing to occasionally throw some money at some stupid shit. It's another to think that like you should focus a lot of time and energy and effort in that system. Very few people are going to be good at blackjack and counting cards and playing poker and winning that game, right? It's not an easy game to win. So, and the crypto shit coins are no exception. The only thing you could hope to do is to become an issuer yourself, but even the issuer space is starting to get saturated with normies, and that's also been consolidated to some large degree of people controlling that ecosystem as well, right? The big names that tell you what to go buy, and they push the stuff, and it's a social competition to get on the radar of the big accounts. And probably those big accounts are fucking owned by the suits themselves. So, anyways, sorry, that's long enough. It's quite a lot of shit talking shit coins. All right, so here we have Ethereum. Ethereum is pumped up to some new all-time highs and has been since consolidating at that level. This is fine. At some point, you're going to want to see a renewed move to the upside here. That will probably happen because look what happened. Looky what the Fed did. Fed dropped rates by 0.25% this week. So this means two things: gains and eventually crash. That's what this means. Traditionally speaking, so the Fed, they dropped their rates. They flat, we had a flat period of time, and now rates are coming down again. This is a continuation of that pattern that we've talked about since forever, right? The Fed raises rates, flat tops, the markets rise. They drop rates, the markets rise. Somewhere the crisis unfolds, and then they have to drop rates massively, close to zero. So they know what's happening. Everybody knows what's happening. There's still more juice to squeeze from this. This is not the macro falling out from under our feet. This is not the rug on the macro just yet. It is in fact just normal action. The macro stuff is fine. Oil is flirting with those lower boundaries that we said, hey, this could be a problem if it starts getting below that 60-61 area. For now, oil is currently at 62.35. It's fine, right? This is still stable enough. Got to keep an eye on this. Again, it's a slow moving chart. It looks like it's about to do something, and then they hang on for dear life, and then they do some crazy thing to spike it, like, oh, look, everything's fine. But you can actually see the trend on this chart is very clear, right? You've got these falling, the lower highs all the way down. So they were able to save the whole macro crash. They did it in the social means. It was insane to actually watch how they didn't actually change any of the macro fundamentals. They just changed the social nature of it by whipsawing the markets. Anyway, so they backstopped the market. They delayed everything. That's fine. And so they're going to do that more here. What I'm saying all that to tell you that this is probably not just going to post haste breakdown, right? They're going to do this kind of thing, before it actually breaks down again. So maybe that will be towards the end of the year. More likely that will be next year at some point. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Again, oil is kind of like our alpha. It's the thing we're looking at now. All of the other stuff has been analyzed and observed to the nth degree, and the process of observation has changed the market. If you believe in all that quantum voodoo. Reverse repos here down at $11 billion. They mean nothing now. It's basically irrelevant. That might as well be zero. Dollar index is also stable. Again, we expected this to be stable. This is a long-term bottoming pattern. Knowing the way that currency markets move, we're probably actually going to end up at these orange lines down here at some point. It might not be for long. It'll probably just break down for a moment, only to come back up. And that could actually be a big signal, right? If we break down, touch these lines, and then spike back into this range, I'll probably take that as the entrance into the next monetary crisis. So for now, it's fine. Nothing to worry about there. Anything else we care about? Obviously, gold. Gold is doing quite well, consolidating here after another big move up. This purple line that I've drawn is the representation of those statistical levels. Honestly, maybe my models are all going to be broken, just like all the laser eyes tell us. But for gold, not even for Bitcoin. My model for Bitcoin is solid. It's not going to get broken anytime soon. But gold, my model for gold might actually be in the process of breaking down. This is something, right? So I wouldn't expect this to smash to the 4,000 level soon by any means. This is also the 2-hour chart, right? Let's go to the daily chart. I wouldn't expect gold to just smash up to 4,000 here anytime soon, but this chart is just unequivocally bullish. Just the fact that it's breaking through these levels and holding them tells me it is a sign that something fundamentally is driving the gold price, and that's actually a good sign, right? That's The fundamental driver of price is the thing you want to see. And so that's yet another good reason to pay attention to the statistics, because statistics tell you about steady state. They tell you about, the general model of the market. They tell you about, boundary conditions and stuff like that. So when your statistics start to act wonky, that's not things breaking. That's your statistics telling you what you wanted to know. Has something fundamentally changed with this process? And in this case, it's starting to look like something is fundamentally different with gold as a process, as a market force, as an economic process. Something different is going on here. So this is a signal to us, right? It doesn't say, oh, statistics doesn't work. Ha, bro, your models are broken. No, you just didn't know how to use them, right? Now we know, we're looking at this, and as this unfolds more, we say, hey, this is a sign that something important is happening in gold. And that tells us stay in gold. Don't sell your gold, right? And you'll notice that I even told you guys when we hit this level, I said, yeah, my model would normally say to sell my gold, but I just can't think of anything else that I want to buy right now. So I'm just going to stay in gold. And that was a good decision, right? So anyways, it's just using the tapestry of nebulous information that exists in the ether, for us to coalesce some kind of vision of the market and what's happening, right? Think architecturally, think large, think big. Don't think autistically, or at least don't think autistically for too long. Sometimes you have to dive deep. Okay, so that's macro. Stocks are performing. Last week we made the prediction that stocks were going to get back into this channel here, and sure enough, that's exactly what happened. And Nasdaq is now inside of this very long-term channel that goes back years and years and years. Really, just goes back to the bull market, the current instantiation of the bull market. That happened after the bear market, the 2022 bottom, and then sort of established these long channels. And yeah, this is where you should expect the Nasdaq to channel now. So if you own tech stocks, if you own AI companies and Nvidia and other GPU silicon companies, right? Those are national defense stocks at this point now. Actually, here's Nvidia. What's funny is Nvidia hasn't actually been performing that great lately. I mean, yeah, it's performing just fine in the sense that it's maintaining its top level, but it hasn't been following up with the rest of tech stocks. So, but this thing is probably going to break out to the upside at some point. So anyways, if you own Nvidia, I don't know. Same thing with the S&P 500, right? It's the same exact story. So probably don't have too many stock bros in here, but yeah, that's just for your edification. There's nothing else here that happened. The civilian unemployment ticked up like we talked about a couple weeks ago, but we don't get new numbers until October. M2 is going to continue rising, obviously. Probably at some point, velocity, maybe this will kick up. Again, I don't know. Inflation still seems to be a little slightly high, but I guess the Fed is comfortable lowering rates. The fact that inflation hasn't hit their 2% target and that they raised rates anyways tells you that something is not good, right? They shouldn't be lowering rates right here. They wouldn't lower rates unless they felt that there was some kind of danger looming that needed to be addressed.
Well, didn't they abandon their basically 2% rate thing at Jackson Hole?
Oh shit, you're right. They did do that. Maybe I should go read those documents. Yeah, because that. Of course, they would, if they wanted to lower rates, they would have to prepare that, right? They'd have to prepare that in advance and say, oh well, actually 2%. It's not a big deal. We could do something like 3 now. Just depends. We're data driven. Data driven for what, bros? What data are you trying to drive towards? Anyways, yeah, so that thank you for pointing that out. Very astute, shortwave. So yeah, they lowered rates by 0.25%, which if their mandate for inflation targets mattered, they wouldn't have lowered rates. So that makes sense that they had to sweep that under the wayside. But again, critically, it tells us that not all is well. Right? Things are not, this is the fact that they lowered rates here in the midst of 3% inflation is not a good sign. They shouldn't be doing that. So it means that they're doing it because they feel like there's some reason that they have to. So that's how I would probably interpret that. So that's pretty much it. Let's check the comments, make sure I didn't have any questions here. Nope, we got the work shares. We got some people like and retweet. Yes, smash the like, smash it, or gently press it. Whatever suits your fancy. And with, you know what? How do I always forget this? I always put it right here. It's the first thing. It's before we get to the price. How do I always, anyways, Monero hash rate. So we dipped down for a while, and then isn't it suspicious that the 18 block reorg happened and now hash rate is back up? So here's what probably happened. They pulled maybe fucking Pubic, maybe they pulled their hash rate and then started just pure silent mining, waiting for the difficulty to readjust lower this entire time, looking for reorgs, failing, and then they found one. I don't know, right? That's a possibility. I really do need to go do some more modeling. Now that I have the selfish case fully generalized and all that extra stuff we talked about, I need to create the data analysis tools to really analyze what's happening without just scrolling with my eyeballs. So hopefully I can regenerate some of these behaviors. But anyways, the Monero hash rate back up to 5.5 gigas. Probably that's a factor of Cubic coming back online to mine Monero again in a selfish sense. I don't know. And then Monero transactions. I don't know why I have all these other ones here. These are fake transactions, guys. Quote me on that. Hate me for it. Say what you want. Litecoin is not doing 200,000 transactions per day in an honest sense. Monero is currently doing about 25,000. Oh, we spiked up a little bit. Yeah, okay. 25,000. That's been our average. 25,000 transactions per day. That's about 33 transactions per block. I didn't say 33 just because that's my degree of anarchy or because of the Illuminati. That just happens to be how the math works out, I'm pretty sure. All right. Enough nonsense talk. That's it, guys. That's all I got for you. I'm going to hand it back to you guys.